Let's start out with Paul. He says, hey guys, is anyone doing an AI chatbot on their website? I want one that I pre-train with uploaded documents or a scrape of my business website, very similar to Super Chat, but much less than $160 per month. All right, Mike says, morning, y'all. I'm looking at cold email for my agency. I've interviewed a half dozen companies, and they all seem to offer similar services with price points all over the board. If you're using cold email, can you let me know how it's going and who you use? Who would you recommend? Yuri says, the more I read into digital deal making, the more upside I see, LOL. Anyways, it seems the focus is on leveraging digital assets. I see plenty of opportunities to provide physical products too. Like, can we connect a Chinese manufacturer for merch to an audience owner? Any reasons we don't mention physical products? Not that much. The only issue is I see the need to carefully select the product owner. What is up? Welcome back. We had another weekly Q&A for all my talented, amazing, super cool agency motherfuckers out there, especially those guys who listen to this week after week. Can I just say that I really appreciate you? I got the idea to do this a couple of years ago and figured it would help a couple of people. And a couple of you guys messaged me and said I listened to them like clockwork, so I'm just going to keep making them if you guys keep listening. That's all I want to say about that. So for those of you guys who are new here, welcome back. My name is Frankie Fihn. The man they call the man. The Golden Dad Guns, the greatest of all time. His Holiness, the agency owner. Internet degenerate, the best looking internet degenerate on the planet. All right, I watched too much wrestling as a kid growing up. Anyways, quick little announcement before we get rocking and rolling. Just wanted to say that we are working on a software right now. For a lot of you guys who are trying to crack one-to-one outreach, we have a tool that will scrape the buyers in your industry, the people actively spending money. It will scan all their socials and see what they're up to. It'll write personalized messages, and we're working on functionality to handle, it'll actually send the outbound, handle the back and forth, book appointments, and like literally all you got to do is show up. So if you guys are interested in finding out about that when that's released, give a brother a holler, because it's coming. It's coming down the line. Anyways, let's get into the good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Fihn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. Let's get our obligatory shitty dance music, which has been 100% created by AI. All right. We are past the shenanigans. Let's get into your questions. Let's start out with Paul. He says, hey guys, is anyone doing an AI chatbot on their website? I want one that I pre-train with uploaded documents or a scrape of my business website, very similar to Super Chat, but much less than $160 per month. I'm going to have to ask our mastermind members because there's a few that are being used, but I know high level, just on the $97 plan, can do that for you, just so you know. I'm planning on making a resource available for just like what are the latest and greatest tools, especially related to AI, because honestly, it fucking updates every 5 minutes. And so, like I know it's hard to stay on top of, so we're going to build a resource for those of you guys who are interested in, hey, I'm trying to do this. What's the best thing to do that? It doesn't exist yet, but I plan on making it for that exact reason, because that you're not unique in that question. But the only thing I know that for sure, 100% will do it is high level on the $97 plan. I know there's another couple dozen tools. I just don't know them personally. So it's probably not a complete answer, but I just want to let you guys know we're building that because you're not the only one asking those questions. What should I use for blank? We want to give you those tools for what you should use for blank. All right. Good question. Mediocre answer. I'm not going to lie. Doing my best over here. Judd says, looking for recommendations for a white label partner that specializes in Google Ads and has experience running Google Ads for nonprofits using Google Ads grant program. Who are your go-to agencies for this type of advertising on Google? TIA. I don't know. Oh, thanks in advance. Okay, yeah, TIA. I'm going to just post this link in the chat for you guys. We have a list of recommended white label partners. For those of you guys who are not familiar with the term, A white label partner is kind of like the contracting equivalent of a subcontractor. Like a lot of times when a contractor gets hired to build a deck, he brings in a subcontractor and he marks them up, right? So like, for the sake of easy numbers, he bills the guy, or the guy charges him $10 an hour. He bills it out at $20 an hour. He makes $10 an hour, but somebody else is actually doing the work, and their value add is they've taken the time to find somebody good who actually knows what they're doing and so forth. I'm just going to put a link to this in the chat. Call it partners. Anybody who's interested in this, by the way, you can shoot me a message. I'll make sure you get a list of this. Here we go. Partners. Ba-dum. All right, cool. That's for those of you guys who are looking. I don't know. It's delaying posting, but it's coming. What's up with that? Come on, Facebook, Zuck. Why are you always doing this to me, Zuck? It's my new inspirational speech. Don't let the Zuck hold you down. Yeah, whatever. I might have to post it after on the replay for whatever reason. It's just like, I don't know. It says it's posting, but it doesn't look like it's actually posting. Maybe you guys can see it. Maybe you can't. I don't know. I'm trying to share it anyways. It's doing that thing, by the way, where it doesn't show me anybody's here. Doesn't show me any of the comments. I know you guys are there. I know you guys are cool. I know you guys are listening. But I'll have to answer some of your questions that are done here live after the fact, just because it's doing that thing. So I want to give some thoughts for you guys on white label partners, which is your most important value add in that is finding good people. So hopefully we've done the work for you guys, finding good people. But most of the work is like, bringing somebody that can actually help that business. So people a lot of times ask me, who's the greatest white label partner? Who's the best for this? Who's the best for that? It's a very valid question, but I feel like it really depends on what you want. They all have pros and cons. They're still humans. There's no one company that's just light years better than everyone else. And it depends on what you're trying to do. Some are better at the actual technical side of doing things. Some are better at the reporting and updates. Some are really good at being cost effective and so forth. So you have to take a look and see what makes sense for you. So that's why I just post a link. You guys can figure it out. These are the people that, I think will do the best job for you. Anyways, Gufran, Ghufra. I hope I'm saying that right. He says, I'm looking to learn cold email outreach and would love your help. If you have any go-to resources like courses, YouTube trainings, or communities, I'd really appreciate your recommendations. If you're using any cold email tools that you love for sending, tracking, verifying, I'd love to hear what's working for you. All right. So this one, I'm fully qualified to have an old man dad rant yell from the top of a cloud. Okay. So here's what I want to say on this. Firstly, I think cold outreach is not the most efficient way to grow an agency. That's a discussion for another day. But having said that, I get asked about it the most. I'm going to lay it out for you guys. And I feel like there are many, many mistakes that prevent people from being successful at it. And also, it's harder than it's presented in most agency circles. Most internet marketing circles in general just paint it as just send a cold DM and you'll be a fucking trillionaire. And I'm not saying that never happens, but most people, their more common experience is getting ghosted and ignored. And part of the reason is I've talked to some of my clients who've been around 15, 20 years, and they've told me that they started getting cold pitched SEO 20 years, 15 years ago, right? And they said, I've gotten 100 messages a day, and that's persisted for 15 years, right? So I want you to think about 100 messages a day. That's that's 36,500 messages in a year. Multiply that by 10 years. Often by the time you messaging them, they've had 500,000 people pitch them the same fucking thing. So anybody who tells you that shit is easy is fucking lying, right? So it does not mean it doesn't work, but it is generally painted as easier than it is in agency circles. And the reason I tell you that is I don't want you guys to go try it and then get discouraged. I hear all the time, I sent 10 messages, I'm not a millionaire, and you barely even fucking scratched the surface. You barely even paid a ticket to enter the game. So let's talk about what not to do, okay? I think one of the things you asked is one of the things not to do, which is, how do I automate this shit? Okay? I'm not against automating it. But most of you guys want to skip to automation before you've got consistent replies, before you've got consistent conversations, before you've got consistent sales. Automate it when you got that shit working. Don't skip straight to automation. I'll tell you, nothing keeps people broker than trying to fucking automate some shit that never worked in the first place. Okay? So automate it after it's working. It sounds so simple, but I'll tell you, most people do the opposite because there's a tendency to think, well, you just got to send a million messages, and you end up just like, you don't attract good clients that way if you just send automated garbage. Like, even when it works, it don't work that well. All right? Second thing, this sounds really simple, but do not talk about you. Talk about the client, their problems, what they're trying to do. It sounds simple, but man, I get pitched on my YouTube channel, especially, like, all the fucking time. It's all the same shit. I am, we are, our company is, the reason I'm contacting you, please jump on a fucking call, call me. And I don't even have enough time to fucking book calls with everybody that requests calls. Like, if I did nothing else but take calls with people pitching me, I still wouldn't have time to finish all the calls in a week. All right? So that's what everybody else does. I am, we are, our company is, the reason I'm contacting you, me, I, we. And here's the simple fucking truth. They don't give a fuck about you. Let's do that. Let's do the middle finger. That's how they feel about you. They don't give a fuck about you. So your outreach itself has to be about them and has to contain value. And the easiest way that we have found to do that is to add value in the form of giving people ideas that you will then later help them implement and making the conversation about them. So there is a huge difference between I am, our company does, we are, the reason I'm contacting you, blah, 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 versus, hey, I saw ABC Restoration does water, fire, and mold. Looks like you guys are really focused on getting water damage restoration jobs. I had an idea to get you in front of Google where people are looking for you, where right now they're going to XYZ restoration. Is it cool to send over some ideas? Right? Like, that's a better opener. And so another, like, talk about them sounds fucking simple, but nobody does it. I'll tell you in practice, nobody fuck does it. Here's another thing, okay? Especially in the beginning, personalize that shit. What most people do is they send copy and paste automated shit. Why? It's easier. I know it's fucking easier, right? But it doesn't work as good, right? So this is what I get. I get the same people. If I can tell you copied and pasted some shit to me, I hope you're doing well, blah, 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 blah. We are, I don't even feel the need to respond. And ergo, if you're the one sending that, you are going to have a very difficult time troubleshooting why it is not working, because you don't even have replies to make sense of why they're not responding. 4, irresistible offer. You need an irresistible offer, right? Like, you need something that is transformational. And most people, by the way, think your service is your offer. It's not. It's your promise of what's going to happen for them. So here is a service, SEO and pay-per-click. Here is an offer that we actually did. We can get you 50 to 100 water damage or category 3 residential flood job phone calls using SEO and pay-per-click. Okay, you hear that? We can get you phone calls of a specific type. That's an offer. The we'll do a service for you is not an offer. That's just a service. That's just a deliverable. So those are some of the things that stop people from being successful. And I want to add one other big piece that it, for most people, is an afterthought because they think volume. Send your messages to people who are spending money on ads. Again, sounds simple when I say it, but you can go into any market and 80% of people do not spend money on ads. And so if you message people that are not spending money, you have 2 sales to make. You should spend money. You should spend money with me. And it's the you should spend money that they will fight you on, not the with me part of it. They'll be very hesitant. You'll notice this when you talk to non-buyers about advertising. They advertise like my kids when they first go in the pool and the water's cold. They're like, they put one toe in and they go, "Ooh, it's too cold, Daddy. I don't want to go in." Right? That's how people who don't advertise. Right? So you don't want to convince people that you should invest money to grow your business. You want to deal with people who already do. Again, it sounds simple, but I'm telling you in practice, people do the opposite. Here's what most people do. They indiscriminately send it to anyone in their industry, not just the buyers. They send boring, bland like copy and paste shit that's easy to ignore. There's no real offer attached. And then they're begging the other person for their time. And then they go, outreach doesn't work. And it's still hard even when you do it right, just so you know. But to me, the right way is identify a group of buyers, write like deeply personalized stuff that's about them with an irresistible offer, and give upfront value in the way where you're going to help them implement that idea. That's a much better way to get strangers to talk to you on the internet. I'm not saying it's the only way, but that's what's worked for us for 20 years, by the way. That's like, it hasn't stopped working in 20 years. And I think even with all the things AI, it'll still work for another 20 years. So that's my way of saying, use it, motherfuckers. All right, Mike says, morning, y'all. I'm looking at cold email for my agency. I've interviewed a half dozen companies, and they all seem to offer similar services with price points all over the board. If you're using cold email, can you let me know how it's going and who you use? Who would you recommend? Honestly, I just posted, if it worked, I don't know, our recommended partners, but we have cold email people in there, and there really aren't a lot of people that I actually recommend, just so you guys know. Why? Because most people who want cold email have deeper issues than just cold email. And so they're looking as if it's just a traffic problem, and it's almost always a conversion problem. So I'll give you an example of this, okay? If you have a working offer and you want to scale it, I'll tell you the easiest way to scale it. You go to Facebook, you go to Google, you take out this thing called a credit card, you give it to them, type it in, and you run some ads and your shit converts. Now, most people, when they run ads, don't have the experience of going, this is awesome, my ads are making money. They have the opposite experience going, fuck, these ads are expensive and blah, 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 and I'm just losing money and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Ergo, it's a conversion problem, right? It's not that hard to get people interested in your stuff. Give them your credit card and they'll do it. But converting people is a whole other art in and of itself. So the reason I say that is because most people who want outreach services will only find out that you have a broken offer. That's what you'll find out from doing it. You'll also get strangers on a call who are mostly cold that are difficult to convert prospects, and you will also find out your sales process is broken. And your pre-selling process, how much you warm them up before the calls is also broken. So you show up with not pre-sold people, not being that good at sales and not having that good of an offer, and then you go, my outreach isn't working. So what my suggestion is before you get into outreach, before you hire somebody, make sure you have a working sales process. Make sure you have a working offer, and make sure you have a way to warm people up and qualify them before a call, which sometimes can be as simple as on the booking page, putting a little video and some testimonials that tells them what's coming next, right? It can be that simple. But if you don't have that in place, all you're going to do is you're going to pay somebody to go book you calls. Half the time they'll disappear. 25% of the time they won't get you any calls booked. And then 25% of the time you'll get calls and they won't close. That's typically what most people's experience is when they go into these cold outreach services. And part of the reason is for it to work, you have to be bringing relevant pieces there. So that's why, for me, like I say, I like to test everything organically before I run paid ads so that I know my offers work when I go to scale them. And therefore, it's just printing money. Just printing money when you got it working. The flip side of that is too many people go straight to, I want to just get people on calls. And the problem is, if you're tight on money, as many people are because your offer isn't converting, and then you're trying to get people on calls, what you get is feedback. What you get is information. What you get is real-time conversations with potential buyers, which can help you dial in your offer. So it's not like a throwaway thing, but most people run out of money before they get to the point of dialing in the offer. So my suggestion is figure out your offer. And I'll tell you the easiest way to fix an offer is to spend 2-3 hours listening to your target market, join their communities on Facebook, on LinkedIn, wherever they go, or Reddit, or Quora. There's lots of places where they hang out, or sometimes on Amazon they'll discuss their problems in the book reviews about that topic. and read them, and just read them for like 2-3 hours, and I promise you, you will become drastically more intelligent. So having said that, to answer your question, who's that asked, by the way? Mike asked, if you still want to hire a cold outreach email, there are a couple good ones listed in our recommended partners. Okay, but just make sure you have those prerequisites in place, or all you're going to do, piss away a bunch of money and say cold outreach doesn't work and all these motherfuckers are scammers. And instead, if you do it right, it's an amplification system of what's working. It is not a savior system. It is not a, hey, I'm not, nobody's buying my shit, therefore it's going to come in and save my business. Don't work like that. But it does go, hey, I got 3 people this month, now I want to add some speed to it. It does work like that, just so you know. All right. Going to get off my podium for a second on that. Yuri says, the more I read into digital deal making, the more upside I see, LOL. Anyways, it seems the focus is on leveraging digital assets. I see plenty of opportunities to provide physical products too. Like, can we connect a Chinese manufacturer for merch to an audience owner? Any reasons we don't mention physical products? Not that much. The only issue is I see the need to carefully select the product owner. So let me give a little backstory for people who are not familiar. All right. For those of you guys who are not familiar, this is Frankie Fihn's second book here, Passive Automated Recurring Income, illustrated by our man Eric Bakey. And in there is the culmination for me of like 10 years of figuring some shit out that like didn't make any sense for a long time. And I'll tell you what didn't make sense is I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And he talked about in the book that you want your money to come from assets, not from effort. It's from things you own and control. And he gave lots of examples of businesses and real estate and stocks and options and things like that. And I loved the book, but I'll tell you, I didn't know how to apply that book like many of you experience, because I'm like, I work online. Like, I ain't buying fucking apartment buildings. I ain't, like, not that often anyways, flipping businesses. And so I thought, you know, this is cool, but it doesn't really apply to me. And I went for many years believing that. And then I started to realize that all the things he was talking about that existed in the physical world also existed in the digital world. And I came to the realization that the most valuable asset of all is what I call distribution, which is an audience of people, a group of people. So for example, like, why does Walmart sell so much shit? Right? Think about this. Why does Walmart sell so much shit? Well, because they got fucking giant ass stores everywhere where they sell like tons and tons of people. So for example, if there were 2 people and they wanted to sell, I don't know, I got a book here. So like my kids got me this book, Tell Me Your Story, Dad. You write little keepsake ideas so they can learn about who you were growing up and stuff like that. Okay? So say I wanted to sell this book. What do you think is going to succeed more? If I start my own online store and I put up a site and I build it in Shopify and I try and sell this book, or if I make a deal with the Walmart stores to go get this stocked on their shelves? What do you think would cause me to sell more of this product? And obviously, like, if I get it sold in Walmart, I'm going to sell 1 billion times more than my own store. Why? Because Walmart already has the distribution. They have the audience. And so I'll tell you what happens is this is not how most people approach making money. I'm going to give you guys a real example because I was just a couple weeks ago at, what was it called? Conversion Summit? No, I don't actually remember the name. But JC and Karen Heights event in Searcy, Arkansas. And so I was there, and one of the headline speakers was Kevin Harrington, the Shark Tank guy. And this is the formula he was talking about in the book, which is most people start with, I created a tool, I created a thing, I created a service. Now how do I get people to want to buy it? And that's like creating your own Shopify store, right? And what I learned through the process is if you actually start with the distribution and their problems and create products and services that are tailored to that, you'll sell 1,000 times more. So Kevin Harrington actually did this, and it actually blew me away. He used the exact formula in the book, which is you take Distribution, and you take products that should otherwise be working together but don't, and you stick them together and you create a spread for yourself in the middle. So this is what Kevin Harrington actually did. He said in the early days he would go on TV and they had introduced like 30 new channels on cable, and a lot of them didn't have 24 hours a day worth of programming. So what would happen is at 8 o'clock they would put on these like bars. For those of you guys who grew up in the same time I did, you know what I'm talking about. Like they just have a bars and say, you know, no programming available or something like that, like no signal, no service, something. And it would stay that way until the next morning. Well, Kevin went to them and said, hey, I got an idea, Mr. TV station owner, exec, whatever, to like make you money during those hours. And they said, well, come on down to HQ. We're all ears, right? Like we're not doing anything with our distribution, which is what they had, by the way, an audience of people. And so Kevin at the time said he was going to a lot of like trade shows where they would sell products. And he said his first product was something called Ginsu knives. For those of you guys who didn't grow up at the infomercial, they would have these knives and the guy would saw a shoe in half and cut a Coke can. And he would do all these crazy things to show you how good his knives are. And then he would sell a bunch. Well, he was doing that at trade shows for 20 years before Kevin Harrington turned it into an infomercial. And so what would happen is 20 people would come in, he'd do the demonstration, and then 20 people would come in and he would do the demonstration and sell some knives. And then 20 people would come in and he'd do the demonstration and sell some knives. And the guy said, how long you been doing this for? He said, like 20 years. He said, I think I can help you sell like millions of dollars of knives. Would you be interested? And he explained to him, I want to make a video version of what you're doing. And so they did. And Kevin said he spent $400 on it. And they got it produced at like very like what I would call a gangster production, like low production values. And they put it on TV, and lo and behold, they sold millions of dollars of knives. And the guy, I forget the guy's name, but the Ginsu knife guy became a celebrity. And then Kevin just did this again and again for more products. So he started with the distribution, the TV audience, and then created they had the problem, they weren't monetizing, and he brought in a product that was already working somewhere else to monetize it. And when you start to realize this is possible and available everywhere, you go, man, you just see how big the opportunity is. And I'll tell you what's changed in the last 10 years about this model is now distribution is no longer controlled by TV in the same way. It is mostly controlled by creators. Like all you need to get internet famous these days is one of these. Look at my cute little guy, by the way. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's a little bit of a reflection. But like, that's a damn fucking cute kid. I guess you can't see that. I don't know how to make that work. You just got to take my word for it. So anyways, if you start with distribution, so for example, like there's people in every fucking social media platform that hundreds of thousands, millions, sometimes even tens of millions of followers or more that are not making enough offers and not monetizing. So yes, you can negotiate products and stuff for them. And what do you think is going to sell more? If we take this product and we try and sell it, or if we go to a creator that's already got 10 million followers and work this into a piece of content, chances are like, which is why, by the way, if like any of you guys are active on YouTube, you see those sponsorships and shit like that in the middle of videos where like, this video is brought to you by a bullshit product, right? There's better ways to do it than that, but nonetheless, like that is distribution and product coming together. Now, there's a tendency to look at this and think, well, distribution and product should know about each other, but I kind of compare it to like a dance. Like I used to go to these dances in grades 6, 7, and 8, and they made it so you basically had to, because either you pay $5 and you go to the dance and you get the afternoon off of school, or you got to sit there and do math for like 3 hours. So there were always a couple of kids that couldn't afford $5, or their parents were broke or whatever. My parents were broke, but they had $5 if I begged, kind of thing. And so we go to these dances, and the dances all started, the first hour of every dance started the same way. All the boys on one side of the gym, all the girls on the other side of the gym, and we'd sit there looking at each other. All the boys are thinking, I want to go talk to the girl over there, and the girls are thinking, I wish that boy would come over here. And none of us did, by the way. It took a while to bridge that. So you think, why don't the boys and girls just talk to each other? Like, I'll give you an example, okay? If there is, I'll give a shout out to Max. Max used some of the ideas in this book. He bought a guitar group of like 70,000 people. It's grown to 120,000 people now or something like that. So what do you think a Facebook community of guitar owners is interested in? Guitars, strings, music, bands, concerts, etc. Right? So what do you think is going to be harder for Max if he tries and sells a guitar by starting his own store, or he buys a group? In his case, for like $60 or something like that, he got 70,000 person group or whatever. Almost it's like 65,000, something like that. You get control of a group. How much easier do you think it's going to be to sell guitars? Right? Obviously, I'm not saying it's just automatically easy. You still have to learn conversion and sales and those kind of things. But at the end of the day, starting with 70,000 people gives you like a pretty distinct advantage. So when it comes to deal making, it's really just limited by your imagination. Meaning, of course, you can sell physical products. You can sell digital products too. You can sell software. You can sell tools. You can sell solutions. And by the way, you're not just limited to one product. So Kevin Harrington does an infomercial and sells on the TV station. What's to stop him from making another infomercial and putting it on right after the first one, right? Nothing. And often the audience who buys one will buy the other thing. And when it's run its course for one thing, they'll buy the second thing. This is why, by the way, the real asset is to own and control an audience, to own and control distribution. You do that, it's hard to not become wealthy online, just so you know. And most people are so busy going, how do I sell my product? How do I sell my service? That they miss the assets they own. And I'll give you an example of agency owners missing their own fucking assets. So a guy creates a solution for plumbers. I'm gonna create a Google Ads system to go, convert calls, emergency calls for them. So he does it, and after like 4 or 5 months, he dials the process in. He's got it working. He's happy with it. Then he asks the wrong question, which is a middle class question. He goes, "How do I get another client? How do I go get hired? How do I get someone to pay me?" And you know what happens? You don't make a lot of money with that question. If he said, "Hey, I own these assets. I have a working set of keywords. I got an ad that works. I got a landing page that works. I got the exact call structure and so forth. I got an AI service that'll help convert those calls. I got a chatbot on the website. How can I rent this system? How can I rent this asset more?" That's a better question, by the way. You'll make a lot more money with that question. And so what ends up happening is if you think of yourself as a middle-class service provider, which most people do, you keep asking the question, how do I get hired? How do I get hired? If you think of yourself as more like an investor who owns and controls assets, you go, how else can I rent these assets? The same way that an apartment building owner would say, how can I fill this building to capacity so that we get maximum monthly rental income, right? And by the way, this is something I wish I knew. It's better for the clients if you are renting assets, right? Like, hey, hire me. This is no assets. This is trying to get hired middle class. Hey, hire me as your Google pay-per-click specialist. I can create solutions for you to bring you more customers. Right? How long does the process take? Well, we got to dial it in. First, hey, plumber, I built this emergency flood thing for a guy in Boise, and it'll work almost verbatim for you. We just got to update the phone number and stuff. But if you want, I'll swipe it into your account. It can be up and running this afternoon, and you can be getting emergency flood phone calls too. Which one of those is going to be a better proposition? We'll figure it out months and months, and you got to spend thousands of dollars while we figure it out? Or I already got the system. It's plug and play. Sign up here, motherfucker, and we'll set it up for you. So that's the power of owning and controlling digital assets. So I lay that out in here. I'm about to go big on this, by the way. Just so you guys know, I'm building a funnel. This baby's about to go mainstream, just so you guys know. Because I believe in this shit, like, through and through. And by the way, it really helps the creators, because most creators, they're not us. They don't know how to sell shit on the internet. It never even occurs to them to sell shit. I've met people who have like 1 million person following or broke, and they go, how do I make money with my following? And I'm like, I don't know. Have you tried selling something, offering something to your people? What do you mean? What would I offer? Right? That's where most of them are at, just so you know. So the opportunity for you to come in and like put together deals and things like that and help them monetize are really endless. Like, just really fucking endless. The problem is when you realize this, you'll like become overwhelmed with the sheer amount of opportunity, because you'll go, holy shit, every time I look at Instagram, every time I look at Facebook, every time I, go on YouTube or watch a fucking TikTok video, like I'm looking at distribution that's not being fully monetized, and like that's my opportunity. Like, Now when you're scrolling cat videos, it's an opportunity for you. And so what it changes from a behavioral habit, and this is one of the things that I stress inside of the Wolfpack, is most people start with, I got my service, how do I drum up some business? And I start with the question, where is the distribution already, right? If we're trying to sell product or service, and we go stand in Walmart, or we go get it sold in Costco, or we go get it sold in, I don't know, Meijer, Trader Joe's or something, we're going to move a lot more product, right? So instead of trying to figure out how do I sell my shit, figure out who already has like a giant fucking audience of those people. And here's the thing, Walmart still needs new products, even though they got 1 billion of them already, right? They like every little bit helps with what they're trying to do. So they're open to collaborations, even when they're already selling 10,000 things. You just got to make it real and valid for them. So this is a long-winded kind of rant, but I wanted to just kind of hammer home this philosophy, because I think when you understand this, even if you go back to running an agency in the same traditional way that everybody else is teaching, you'll do it smarter than everyone else. Because instead of starting with like, how do I sell my thing? How do I get somebody to buy my thing? You'll do it much smarter, right? So like for me, I mentioned this, right? Like if I wanted to break into the dental industry, I'm not, but let's say I wouldn't go like one-to-one message 10,000 dentists. I'd find like the top 3 podcasts where 10,000 dentists listen to, and I would go like get on their show, right? Like and why? Because if 10,000 dentists listen to a show, that's distribution. Then I might go like, who's got the top coaching program for dentists? What are the biggest conferences? Who are the industry associations? Who makes the software? Who makes the tools? Who supplies them all the shit? You know that pokey thing that all those fucking dentists use to jab in your mouth? Like, who makes that? Somebody does, and he already knows all the dentists, right? So if I can collaborate with that guy or lady, we're going to sell a whole bunch more, dental services than if we try and chase these people one at a time. And so there's already suppliers, there's already tool makers, there's already software providers. Somebody has a community, somebody has an Instagram for them, somebody has a YouTube channel, somebody has a Facebook group of these people. Like, start collaborating with distribution, shit gets easier. I used to see this, by the way, an example of this. And Jay Abraham says any company under 10 million a year should focus on partners, not chasing business one-to-one. So I would see this, 2 brand new attorneys, okay? Following the ideas in here, okay? Distribution first. Attorney number 1 tries to drum up business by running ads. It's literally the most expensive niche on planet Earth. He spends a couple $100 of keywords and ends up going broke and concludes you can't advertise in this industry. Attorney number 2 recognizes that when people get injured in an accident, they also buy from other people. So they get their car fixed. They sometimes get medical treatment from like a physiotherapist. They also sometimes go see a chiropractor. And so he focuses on just marketing to those 3 people: auto body shops, chiropractors, physiotherapists. He gets one good chiropractor that can be worth $1 million a year. He only converted one person, by the way. So this is why I'm big on like, let's pursue the partnerships first, because yeah, it's a little bit slower in step 1, but man, you move so much faster because when you get your shit sold in a store, it ain't that hard to sell. It ain't that hard to sell 1 million fucking books if you get them sold in Walmart, by the way. Try and do that with your own store. I almost grabbed this. These are my kids. You wouldn't think you would hang up shit like this on the wall, but you do. Cute as fuck, those little fuckers. This is like, look at my desk. I'm just showing you guys. They scribble on my notes, says Daddy. This is my favorite one. I love you, Daddy. That's why I do the shit that I do. All right. So I'm ranting on this, but the reason I tell you this is because I believe that the way most people grow an agency is with poor and middle class values in a big way. So they're just thinking about, how do I get hired? How do I get someone to pay me every month? That's what somebody trying to get a job as. A digital deal maker, somebody who understands the principles in this book, says, how can I own and control assets so that selling my shit is easy and obvious? So I know, for example, when we started publishing our stuff in the restoration business in front of 30,000 contractors in their magazine, in other words, like the digital equivalent of getting my shit sold in a store, like, wasn't that hard to pick up a few clients if you get 30,000 people reading your shit, right? So I started with the who already had the audience. How can I collaborate with them? Can I write for your magazine? So it's kind of an advanced strategy. For those of you guys that are interested in learning more about that, inside of the agency owners, the Wolfpack, our mastermind, I have tools for doing that. So we can click a button. I can tell you everybody who's got an audience in your industry. I also got a tool that will write one-to-one personalized messages to open the door. And then when you go to co-create stuff, I got stuff so that you can co-create valuable stuff for their audience, you know, magazine articles, podcast episodes, free training, stuff like that. And we can do all of that in under 10 minutes. So I can go from any industry, like these are all the people who have the audiences in it. Let's collaborate with them. Let's work together and let's put stuff out there. And we can do it in like 10 minutes. It's pretty fucking wild what's possible. So anyways, if you guys are interested in that, you can check out beyondagencyprofits.com. There is a link for the Wolfpack on there. As I mentioned, beyondagencyprofits.com. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys in this one. I know I mentioned this before, but Facebook don't always show me the questions and comments live. Today's one of those days. I'm just assuming it's not going to work lately because whatever. That's just the Zuck is holding me down. I appreciate you guys who come on here and listen to those questions. For those of you guys who missed the intro, by the way, next couple of weeks, we have a software coming out that's basically going to do all your one-to-one outreach with you, personalized at scale with AI. And you just simply got to give it a little input like roofers, dentists. It works only for local. So for those of you guys who are doing e-commerce and stuff, it's just not programmed for that. But for those of you guys who work with local businesses, we got it set up. It's like you'll be able to click a button and like be booking appointments with people, like based on all our winning formulas and scripts, and it'll be personalized at scale. And it'll manage the conversations for you. Like, that's pretty fucking sexy, I think. So we're building that right now. You guys are going to be the beneficiary of that when that goes live. And I plan to, by the way, we're going to reinvent this in various industries because there's a lot of people who are trying to one-to-one message other people. You guys who are part of my world are going to get access to special pricing on that nobody else is going to get. And it'll stay that way. And everybody else is going to pay more just because I love you guys and I think you're cool. Cool-ass motherfuckers. So I think we're on to $100 million SaaS, but you never know until we build it and put it out there. But we're building it. It's happening. Appreciate you guys. And that's all I got for you guys in this episode. Happy Monday. Appreciate you guys all. Give me a little shocker before we go. Much love. May the force be with you.
Buy my book or I will urinate in your cat's water dish.